Queen Victoria's life is a tapestry of royal duty, personal sorrow, and imperial grandeur, spanning from the early 19th century to the dawn of the 20th. Born Alexandrina Victoria on May 24, 1819, at Kensington Palace in London, she entered a world of privilege shadowed by uncertainty. As the only child of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, the fourth son of King George III, and Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, her infancy was marked by tragedy. Her father succumbed to pneumonia in January 1820, just 8 months after her birth, followed swiftly by the death of her grandfather, George III. This left the infant Victoria third in line to the throne, behind her uncles George IV and William IV, neither of whom had legitimate surviving heirs. Raised under the strict Kensington system, devised by her mother and the ambitious controller John Conroy, Victoria's childhood was one of isolation and control. The system aimed to mold her into a pliable queen, keeping her away from the royal court and her paternal relatives to prevent any influence that might undermine her mother's authority. She shared a bedroom with her mother until her accession, endured rigorous private tutoring in languages such as French, German, Italian, and Latin, and found solace in simple pleasures like playing with her spaniel, Dash, or crafting stories. At age 10, she penned and illustrated The Adventures of Alice Lascelles, a whimsical tale reflecting her creative spirit. Yet, her journals describe these years as rather melancholy, filled with exhaustive tours of England and Wales in the 1830s that left her weary. A severe fever in 1835 at Ramsgate tested her resilience, and by 1836, introductions to potential suitors, including her cousin Prince Albert, began under the guidance of her uncle, King Leopold I of Belgium. Victoria's family background was a blend of British Hanoverian roots and German nobility. Her mother's lineage connected her to European royalty, fostering alliances that would later define her descendants' fates. Tensions ran high in the household. Her mother avoided the court due to William IV's illegitimate children, and Conroy schemed to position himself as regent if Victoria ascended before turning 18. Victoria, however, resisted fiercely, refusing to sign documents that would grant Conroy power. She had half-siblings from her mother's first marriage, Karl and Theodora, but her path to the throne solidified after George IV's death in 1830 and as William IV's health declined. On June 20, 1837, at the tender age of 18, Victoria awoke to the news of William IV's death and her accession. "I am queen," she wrote in her diary, marking the end of the Hanoverian male line in Britain. Her uncle Ernest Augustus inherited Hanover under Salic law. Her coronation on June 28, 1838, at Westminster Abbey drew massive crowds, symbolizing a new era. Financially astute, she settled her father's debts and moved to Buckingham Palace, embracing her role with guidance from Prime Minister Lord Melbourne, who became a father figure. Victoria's reign began amid political turbulence, but her personal life blossomed with marriage. On February 10, 1840, she wed Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, her first cousin, in a ceremony at the Chapel Royal. Proposing to him herself, as protocol demanded, she found in Albert not just a consort but a confidant and advisor. Their union was passionate. Victoria's journals gush about their wedding night, despite a subsequent headache. Albert's influence extended to politics, family, and culture, helping organize the Great Exhibition of 1851, which showcased Britain's industrial prowess in the Crystal Palace. The couple welcomed 9 children between 1840 and 1857. Victoria, Princess Royal, Albert Edward, future Edward VII. Alice, Alfred, Helena, Louise, Arthur, Leopold, and Beatrice. These offspring married into Europe's royal houses, earning Victoria the moniker, Grandmother of Europe. Tragically, a genetic mutation likely from her side introduced hemophilia B into several lineages, afflicting Leopold and descendants like Tsarevich Alexei of Russia. Victoria's 63-year, 7-month reign, the longest until Elizabeth II surpassed it in 2015, encompassed the Victorian era's zenith. This period saw Britain's transformation through the Industrial Revolution, with railways crisscrossing the land, scientific breakthroughs by figures like Darwin, and cultural flourishes in literature from Dickens to Tennyson. Moral rectitude defined the age, emphasizing family values and propriety, though it masked social inequalities like child labor and urban poverty. Reforms addressed these, including the 1867 Reform Act expanding voting rights. Key events punctuated her rule. The Crimean War 1853–1856 tested Britain's military, with Victoria supporting troops and instituting the Victoria Cross for valor. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 dismantled the East India Company, leading to direct crown rule in her proclamation as Empress of India in 1876, a title bestowed by Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli. Imperial expansion reached its peak, with Britain controlling vast territories in Africa, Asia, and beyond. Assassination attempts, 7 in total, including Edward Oxford in 1840 and Roderick Maclean in 1882, heightened her popularity, as did her visits to Ireland in 1849 and 1900. Politically, Victoria navigated a shifting landscape with 10 prime ministers. She favored conservatives like Disraeli, whose charm won her over during imperial ventures, over liberals like Gladstone, whom she found dour. Her influence was subtle but significant. She vetoed ministerial appointments, shaped foreign policy, and opposed women's suffrage, viewing it as unnatural. Her extensive journals, 122 volumes, offer intimate glimpses into her opinions, from clashes with Foreign Secretary Palmerston to endorsements of the 1867 reforms. Personal life brought profound joy and grief. Albert's death from typhoid on December 14, 1861, at age 42, shattered her. Blaming stress from their son Bertie's scandal, Victoria plunged into mourning, withdrawing to Balmoral Castle in Osborne House, earning the nickname, Widow of Windsor. She wore black for the remaining 40 years, relied on Scottish servant John Brown, sparking rumors, and later on Indian attendant Abdul Karim, whose favoritism caused court scandals. Despite seclusion, she published excerpts from her journals and supported charities, including famine relief in Ireland, 1847. In later years, Victoria's health waned with rheumatism, cataracts, and injuries. She celebrated her Golden Jubilee in 1887 with a grand procession and banquet, and her Diamond Jubilee in 1897 as an imperial festival, attended by colonial dignitaries. By the 1890s, she used a wheelchair, yet remained engaged, visiting Europe and granting honors like the Royal Red Cross. Victoria died on January 22, 1901, at Osborne House, aged 81, surrounded by family, after a brief illness. Her state funeral on February 2 featured a military procession, and she was buried beside Albert at Frogmore Mausoleum. Her legacy endures. She solidified the constitutional monarchy, promoted duty and morality, and oversaw an empire on which the sun never set. Though criticized for colonial excesses, she symbolized stability, with descendants influencing world history. Her journals, edited by daughter Beatrice, reveal a complex woman, emotional, obstinate, and devoted, whose era shaped the modern world.